soak in what's happening musically and spiritually, because that's what it's about. I think it's a really an enriching medium when perceived the right way, and also when performed the right way.
Richard.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect.
Yeah, so lovely to talk to you, and I see you've got the piano there at the back as well.
I do. Yeah, the piano and a keyboard and everything I need.
So that's your studio or your practice room, or what do you call it?
Yeah. Basically, it's my living room studio. You can call it that. So I work here and I compose here and teach here.
Oh, you teach as well?
Yeah, piano.
Well, it's so great that we met in Stadtpark, so and just that was such a coincidence. But and I also saw you with your accordion in Stadtpark. So tell me about the accordion. What made you interested in the accordion?
Well, I kind of just picked it up about a year ago. Because I had one from my parents, which they never used. So it was just sitting there for years and years, and I decided to try it and got interested in how it worked, especially the left hand, because since I've already played the piano before, I knew how the right hand works, more or less. But the left hand was rather intriguing because I didn't know how to function around the buttons at first. So I slowly started to learn by myself, and recently picked up lessons as well. So I really enjoyed just picking up a different instrument.
Is it also the accordion is sort of it's not something that you see. I mean, you associate it almost with like folk music or more traditional music. And what is your genre that you use it for?
Well, I am in fact trying folk music, but sort of not limiting myself. So right now I'm using it for basic, Wiener Lieder, so like the genre of Viennese music, and as well as world music from Latin America or like from Brazil, and different influences from that region of the world. Because I'm playing in a band where we have a mix of all types of music, especially from Spanish-speaking cultures, and so that's where I kind of blend in to some of the songs with my accordion.
Okay, and you also play jazz,
right? Yeah, and I studied jazz. Yeah, jazz piano was like my first musical journey, since I took private lessons when I was a kid, and then later on studied jazz piano in Paris, where I got more and more involved with the tradition and the techniques and all the musical theory and knowledge that comes with it. So I started a trio, and we recorded an album in Vienna. And so I still play jazz every now and then, but it's not my main genre as it used to be. I'm more open right now.
And now I want to go far back and ask why, as a child, what was the interest in jazz for you? Do you come from a musical family?
No, not at all. I come from a very non-musical family, but I was very interested in music from an early age, and I don't know. Again, I thought like it wasn't very easy because when your parents, I mean, I guess it's not easy when you have parents that are musicians, but
Yeah.
it's also not easy when they're not musicians, depending on what path, like professional path you want to take in life. Um, and then I took piano lessons as a child when I was very young, and I just liked it and stuck with it more or less. I mean, here and there with short breaks, you know, when you're a teenager and
Yeah.
things are more fun. But all in all, kind of like jazz music. I don't know what it was that was interesting for me about jazz music. I think there's it's kind of different. It's very different to Austrian culture.
Oh yeah.
It comes from a very different part of the world and from different um, social backgrounds. But
But
I
this.
think what is interesting to me is the blending of different musical genres. You know,
Yeah.
the mix that or the result that comes from it. From you take, you know, if you go back and look at the blues, and you just have this one person sitting there with the guitar and singing about his grief, and then you have these African rhythms from different parts of Africa, and then you got European instruments and European knowledge, and everything just comes together and creates something new. And I think that's what's really interesting for me.
Well, this is also something that I mean, I've spoken to a few pianists to say the same thing, that these crossover to these different genres actually bring so much more, and it's so enriching. And that's also for me. I think that, you know, this always the question is how fascinating it is that all these genres can create something new or can bring something, you know, can be the inspiration for something new.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely, especially when you're working with musicians who are from a different area. Let's say the group I'm in now, it's called Son del Raval, and the singer, he's from Morocco originally, but he sings in Spanish because he lived in Barcelona, and so he's got the Moroccan rhythms and a sort quite different approach. And then he's got this, you know, Spanish language and everything mixes in well because of all these different backgrounds that we have. Like the singer is, and then another musicians from Algeria, another one's from, you know, Austria. So, and it's cool to see how we can still bring something positive, you know, to the
Yeah,
table, especially in music, because it's so universal.
yeah. But isn't it also amazing now how small the world has become, that it is possible to reach out and get the influence of different cultures?
Yeah.
Mm.
Yes, I agree, but I think it's one thing to see things on the internet and to learn from the internet, and it's another thing to actually be in a certain place
Of course.
where you know, a certain culture is practiced, and to yeah, to be
Yeah.
involved is far more enriching.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And you also said something interesting, that about your musical, the fact that your parents are not, you
Yeah,
know, you don't come from a musical family. And this is also something that I heard, that, you know, on the one hand, it's a positive because there's no, it's almost as if there's no pressure on you, because they don't know what the route would be for you. But do you think in that sense that you have more freedom, or that you had more freedom not go a specific route or not go specifically in a classical route, because you almost think of, okay, now I start to play the piano, that it has to be classical music that you start your education with.
Yeah, if I hope I understood correctly. But let me just gather my thoughts. On the speaking about myself, I had a private piano teacher when I was a child, who taught me, various classical pieces and also popular music. But I never had this drive to become a classical protege. This was not meant for me. Like I never really felt that, because I did have certain pressure from home, but not in terms of you have to become a great musician. Like it wasn't that. It was more like, yes, you have the freedom to, choose your career, but they, of course, my parents' generation is different than the generation now or the generation before. So it wasn't so clear for them what it meant to, like, what it means to do music and to have a living, to gain your income basically through music.
Yeah.
So I had to find ways. Like, yeah, I mean, I think it's a very evolving profession when you're in your teenager years. You'll think differently than when you're in your 20s or 30s. Like, starting off with going to jam sessions and meeting other musicians, and then having different teachers and teaching different students. And I think then you become aware of what is possible in your limitations and what isn't, and what you can associate yourself with. So for me, it was very much like jazz music and music which can be created instantly out of improvisation, or through simple chords, something where you don't need like 10 hours of practice in order to learn a classical piece perfectly. That was very intriguing for me.
Now, from where you started, now you say you teach as well. So how do you teach differently, because you've gone through this route? I mean, the students that you teach, do you guide them sort of in that experience that you had, evolving as a musician?
I wouldn't say so, because, well, it depends on the age or the situation of the student. But since I have a lot of young students who are, who are children who are, I don't know, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I with them, I try to, just find an approach which works for them, where they can feel comfortable learning an instrument, and also where they can gain knowledge by themselves. So I don't try to. I at the beginning, when I finished my studies, I did have a more strict approach, and I was more, not pressuring the student, but I did have a little, little drive in that regard. Whereas now I try to just make it fun, and if a child wants to learn more, then they're welcome, and I'll teach them. But I won't be so strict.
Yeah.
Because I think that the curiosity comes from within. I mean, you can show things to them, and you can guide them, but you kind of force them to learn something.
Yeah. That's really true, and sometimes that forcing takes away the eagerness for them to learn. That, like you say, also you as a teenager who started, had little breaks, and it's like you have to then start again because you want to start again and not because of some pressure.
Yeah, and also if, like, let's say I teach in 1 week, and then I give the student some homework and they wouldn't learn it the next week. Like, it's not the end of the world, because if you don't learn something in 1 week, maybe you'll learn something the next week, or you'll learn exactly that plus more. And you know, so it's I'm not a strict teacher, but I think maybe I have a wrong approach. I'm not sure, but I think it's,
because I'm really interested also in the education of, you know, how people get educated, because it's always this question of some people don't think that they are capable.
yeah, well, yeah, to some extent I agree that not everyone is equally capable to learn an instrument, or the same instrument. Some people are, like I, for example, I'm a terrible guitar player. I couldn't play the guitar. Like, it's not, I don't see it as a suited for me or tailored to my being. But I mean, sure, you can learn basics in anything, but there has to be a certain, like, ability within you to make it prosperous for yourself. Like I've had a lot of you can call it talent if you want, like, but that's not everything. There is of course you need some talent to become successful, or get where you want to be, but it's not going to work without putting in work. Like, you won't get anywhere if you don't put in countless of hours, so that you can master your instrument, or that you can just become better at your instrument.
I think also it's pressure that sometimes prevent children from continuing.
It can be pressure from teachers. It can also be pressures from parents, and later on it can be pressure from yourself.
Yeah.
From, you know, you go to college or conservatory, and you just pressure yourself so much that it's unhealthy, and that's not good either.
Yeah, and that it loses the not the fun, but the enjoyment of.
Yeah, and especially when your career is dependent on it. So I've have a couple of friends who are great musicians, but they stopped working as musicians actively because of the pressure, or because of the work, the extra work that comes with it. You know, having to book shows, write a lot of emails, get in touch, networking, all that, and that's also one aspect that no one really talks about, because, or I mean, people talk about it, but you don't see it as much when you think of a person on stage or playing music, because all you see is, oh wow, the person's great at their instrument, or a great singer, or whatever, and all the work behind the curtains is not on the not the focus.
But now in Vienna, for example, there are a lot of musicians, and we've realized this really during the pandemic, how much musicians were affected, and artists were affected. So how easy is it or how difficult is it in Vienna to be a musician and to have your own style? And
In Vienna especially, it's I mean, that's a good question. That's a very good question, to have your own style. I generally think it's difficult in Austria to, how should I say this? I think the Austrian scene is very limited, and it's not very vibrant. You know, the music life, the cultural life isn't as lively as it used to be. So sure, you can have your own style and your own brand as an artist, but I think to really have a sustainable career and to stick out, but in terms of quality, that's a very difficult aspect. That's very tough considering the machinery behind it. You know, there's like only a couple of radio stations for popular music, and the ones that do play local artists, they tend to pick a number of like a handful of musicians. So and also when talking about live music, it's kind of all the same. Like it's repeats, and there's a lot of upcoming artists who, in my opinion, sound very similar. Where it's difficult to kind of distinguish the styles or to really point out, this person is really very different to that person, because they're all very similar. So yeah, I think that's difficult. It's difficult in Vienna. And to also sorry, I just wanted to say to have a following, to have like a fan base in Austria is tough, because we don't really have that fan base culture like in other countries.
So, but what would your advice be for a young musician in Vienna?
I think it's important to see very many different concerts, whether it's your music or not, but just gain experience from other shows and from other artists is very, very important, because you can always find something likable. You can always find something that you might enjoy about a show, even if it's not at all your genre. And also another aspect is to be open to learn. I think it's so important to learn all the time. To learn from other musicians, to learn from fellow artists, from older people, and from records, like, because you're not gonna reinvent the wheel, like there's so much music out there, and there's so much good music out there from the past, that believing that you yourself can create something new by neglecting all that is just false thinking. And I also had to learn that during my education. It wasn't a given. But I think now I'm much more appreciative than before, that I have that insight,
Okay, so Richard, now what is your wish for the future?
Okay, well, one thing is that I wish for musicians to be able to play again, live in front of an audience that doesn't have to be restrained, So I hope that people can enjoy a concert without having to worry about having a mask or not, simply to grasp what's happening, and to soak in what's happening musically and spiritually, because that's what it's about. I think it's really an enriching medium when perceived the right way, and also when performed the right way. So that's one thing. And the other thing is less internet. Like I of course we all use the internet, but a lot of people just stay at home and watch everything online, and I think that's not what it should be. It shouldn't exclusively be that. I think people should go out there, and even if it's a little cafe and you'll see a guitar player, You can sit down, have a coffee or a beer, and just enjoy the guitarist singing his songs. And I think that's so much more. It just gives me so much more pleasure than if I did the same thing in front of my computer. So I hope that time will change again, so that we have these organic experiences more often.
Yeah, and it's not always about the concert hall or the big venue. It's sometimes, like you say, the cafe with somebody playing, and it's just that intimate.
Yeah, and it can be a street
moment.
musician. It doesn't have to be,
Yeah,
Lang Lang in the Vienna Konzerthaus. It can be
yeah,
some person who you've never heard before or seen before in Stadtpark.
Yeah,
But like,
yeah,
I'm serious.
exactly.
Like, it can be someone with their instrument on the side, and you'll sit there and really have a good moment and of reflection or whatnot, where it just gives you something positive, something inspirational. And I think that can be from anyone if it's done the right way, as long as it's honest and sincere.
I agree, and this that you say in the streets or in the park. Sometimes for me, it's always. I know there's some musicians feel it's not always good because it's sometimes giving it for free, then the music, but still I think it's there where you reach people and where people come so close, and it's so informal and it's not intimidating at all. And I think this is really where sometimes for children also the seed is planted, or where they hear, or where there's this contact with the musician and the instrument. So I always, admire also the musicians who do that, and who play in the parks, especially Stadtpark. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree, because there's no hierarchy in the sense that you're looking up to someone, but rather you have a direct contact with especially like you said, when there's a child, the child can just go up and look and see what the person's doing. Maybe that musician will show whatever they're doing to the kid, or in a break, whereas you don't have that in a concert hall. And I agree that can be very, very inspirational for children.
But Richard, you are so chilled, really.
Thank you.
I would love to. I hope I meet you again in Stadtpark, because this is my favorite park, and I do a lot of photography there as well. And so let me know when you are again in Stadtpark, and I'll come with my Lily, and I'll come and listen to you.
Okay, it would be lovely. I think now that it's getting warmer outside, it will happen more often, and would be nice to hang out there at some point again.
Yeah, that would be great to see you.
And thank you. Yeah.
Now, just one last thing is, can you do a shout out to a restaurant or coffee shop or a bar, your favorite hangout?
Yeah, well, actually, I got two. One is called Frau Meier.
Yeah.
Frau Meier, which is great for jamming, for having dinner, and for going to watch concerts and hang out. And the other is Soul Kitchen, which is in the 3rd district, where there's great food, great brunches, and also I'll be playing there.
Oh, okay.
So we'll have some sets there on weekends, and there's going to be barbecues, and it's going to be nice to hang out there.
So it's Soul Kitchen, and where exactly is that?
That's in the 3rd by hintere Zollamtstraße.
Okay.
It's a little hidden, but I think I can send you the link.
Yeah, please do. I'll put the link on. Yeah. And when will you be playing there?
That's what I'm gonna figure out soon, because now that everything is opening up and changing, we're gonna start with weekend dates probably, so Fridays and Saturdays.
Mm. Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I'll let you know.
Let me know, please.
Yeah.
I know it would be so wonderful to hear you play and your band. You will be with your band.
Yeah. Well, we were supposed to actually have a concert on Saturday at Mi Barrio, but that got canceled because of COVID.
Yeah.
So now that.
Well, hopefully this summer things will go back to normal.
Yeah. Cool.
Okay, Richard. So have a lovely afternoon.
Thank you, Petra.
Okay.
Glad we finally made it, even though it was easy, but we did it.
Okay. Okay, see you soon.
Okay.
Bye.
Have a good day.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.